ready for some football. I don't know about you. Who else could it be but your man Lou? Yeah.
Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to Monday Night Football overtime. Broncos, Chargers, AFC West Family Business. If these two teams said they ain't did it, then they ain't did it. But if they did, that's family business. And look, man, I try to stay out of family business that is not of my own, right? Like, I got a big nostril, all right, or a couple big nostrils. And doesn't take much for me to get in somebody's business, so I try to stay back. But all I ever ask is if you're going to give us some bullshit, just make it quick, man. Make it quick, in and out us. You can say what you want about Bears and Commanders on Thursday, but those boys respected our time, okay? If I'm going to give you some bullshit, I'm going to give it to you quick. These boys came for extra. Read all about it. They came for more of my time. I already felt bad after 3 hours of this nonsense, and you came for an extra 15 to 20. Where's the psychological sense in that? Why? Look, man, we talked about this last Thursday when the Broncos did the same exact thing, which is monopolizing our time with some bullshit. Regulation wasn't enough. They decided to come and give us some OT as if we asked for any more. And we said, hey, Justin Herbert and that Chargers offense isn't going to allow this shit to happen again. We're going to be safe. We're saved. You say what you want about the Broncos offensively, and they're a mess. They're poorly coached. They're not executing on the field. It's a mess. Their defense is so good. I feel bad for them. I truly do. I'm disappointed in the Chargers, and I get it. Their offense isn't what you expect it to be without Keenan Allen. They haven't had him all season long, pretty much. Hasn't been on the field since week 1. So you get what you get. If Mike Williams doesn't have one of those performances where he goes up and climbs the ladder twice and pulls down a 40-yard 50-50 ball in the game, if Austin Eckler doesn't go and have one of those Austin Eckler type performances like he had last week, this is what you get from the Chargers, okay? Their offense isn't very good without Keenan Allen. Historically, it hasn't been good without Keenan Allen. Tonight, Mike Williams was milk carton Mike. They suck. They said, hey, Pat, get his ass. I didn't hear a peep out of Mike Williams tonight. Patrick Surtain sicked his ass, and he put him to sleep. Night-night. Get him a pillow. He was milk carton Mike tonight. Austin Eckler wasn't playing no guitar. He wasn't slamming no footballs. He wasn't doing shit tonight. Gerald Everett, really like him, locked his ass up. Lock him up. Lock him up. They locked all that shit up. Threw away the key. And still, Troy Aikman gave us a gem on the way out. I said, hey, Troy, thanks for dropping that gem on our melon on the way out the door. He said, in 5 of the 6 games this season, in regulation, the Broncos have held their opponents to 17 points or less in 5 of 6 games this season. And they still managed to only win 2 games. That is so effing hard to do. My mind has been blown with the ineptitude I've seen from Denver's offense. And it's one thing if you've got ass on top of ass on top of ass, right? And it looks like an Uncle Luke's video, right? Looks like Uncle Luke's video. At receiver and tight end and running back, and there's nothing. And the cupboard's completely bare, and you're not able to move the football. or the offensive line is tragically bad. I get it. That is not the case with the Denver Broncos. I am boggled. I feel hornswoggled, bamboozled, hoodwinked watching this Denver Broncos team. Because a team with Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, 19 tight ends, one that I loved in the draft, and Greg Dulcich, and a host of other guys that are talented at the tight end position, to the point where Albert O wasn't even active tonight. A bunch of running backs that are quality. Sucks that Javonte Williams isn't a part of that group anymore due to the injury. But they've got running backs for days, including adding Latavius Murray, who was the best of the trio of backs, including Mike Boone and Melvin Gordon the third, who they said, hey, you sit the hell down. This ain't your type of game, because you'll be the one to fumble the goddamn football and lose us the bitch. So you sit on the sideline and watch. With all of that talent and Russell Wilson at quarterback and an offensive line that doesn't stink, they can't score points. I don't have an answer for what the Denver Broncos are producing on a weekly basis offensively. I am flummoxed. Their defense doesn't deserve this. It is a travesty and a shame what their defense does on a weekly basis, only to be slapped in the face by this ridiculous poser of an offense. Enough of the Broncos. We can come back to them. Let's talk about the Chargers. As disappointed as I was in the offense, because they were supposed to save us tonight. They were supposed to keep us from one of these, 13-13, 16-16 type of ball games. They were supposed to be the saving grace, not Justin Herbert. He's not going to allow this shit to happen. Bullshit. He looks flummoxed tonight. And remember, you have to keep in mind, just because he's out there slinging the thing around, don't forget that he's playing with compromised ribs. All right, they have not fully healed. Okay, so understand that this man is gutting it out on a weekly basis. That said, he was getting his ass tore up tonight. But you got to also give credit, even though everybody's doing it. Like, I almost don't want to give the Chargers defense any credit. You still got to give them credit, because they came out tonight sluggish. Russell Wilson was 10 of 10, the first time he's done that in his NFL career. In the first quarter, 10 different receivers touched the football. That's actually amazing in itself. That is a tremendous feat when you complete your first 10 passes and none of them go to the same guy. That's pretty damn hard to do in today's NFL. In a 10-pass span, 10 passes go to 10 different guys. None of the balls hit the ground, and nobody has a repeat catch. There's not one guy that says, hey, in that 10-catch span for Russell Wilson of 10 straight completions, I got 3 of those things. Everybody got 1. And he was humming. And he was rolling out, and he was extending plays, and he looked like Russ of old. He even, for a brief second, if you blinked, if you squinted hard enough, he actually looked like Dangerous. Just for a brief second. But if you went to the bathroom at the end of the first and you came back, he was gone. Long gone, and he wasn't coming back. And you got to credit the Chargers defense for that, I guess. I mean, the Texans did it. The Colts did it. The Seahawks did it. And the Seahawks can't stop anybody. Seahawks did it. So, hell, I mean, the Raiders sort of kind of did it, but not really. That was the one game that they actually didn't look trifling offensively. Long story short, Chargers, they didn't throw up all over themselves defensively. They did what they needed to do. It started off rough, but they took advantage of this Broncos offense that has struggled mightily, got the job done. And I said this to Washington fans after the game on Thursday, and it was told to me numerous times And I'm going to continue to tell you this because it is true. A wise man once told me more games in the NFL are lost than they are won. This really applies more times than not to either bad teams or teams that are middling, right around the middle of the pack, solid clubs. But at the end of the day, more games are lost than they are won. And a lot of times when a team is either bad or struggling, just get out of the way and let them self-destruct. And for a second there, I thought the Chargers were going to give this game away when Justin Herbert threw that interception. And we have to talk about Baron Browning. We got to talk about this dude. But when he threw the interception and it got picked off, I said, oh my God, they're going to spoil a perfect opportunity to tie up the Chiefs in this division at 4-2. They're going to lose to a team that they're supposed to sweep this year because they're so god-awful on offense. They're going to drop one at the crib to the Denver Broncos. You've got to be kidding me. They're going to lose this game. They haven't led all night, and now Herbert's going to pick this spot in the game to throw a pick? Are you kidding me? But the defense did what every defense has done against the Broncos, kept them out of the end zone, forced them to kick a field goal. As a matter of fact, I'm not sure they may have went backwards. That there was a lot of that going on tonight, where a team gets the football and actually goes in the wrong direction and ends up punting the football. Happened numerous times. But the special team stepped up in overtime because neither one of these teams' offense was going to score in overtime. This game was going to be a tie. If someone didn't make a mistake, this game was going to end at 16-16. Not one single first down was had in overtime by either one of these two offenses. Not a single one. As a matter of fact, these teams were going in reverse. Reverse. There's a third down for the Denver Broncos, and nobody bothers to block Drew Tranquil. Don't mind if I do. Go right ahead, Drew. What the hell are the Denver Broncos doing? I could ask the same question of Filer at right guard or left guard for the Chargers when he lets Alex Singleton come right in and deflect the ball. And I'm sitting there. That thing is in the air for what felt like an eternity. I'm like, doom, 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 doom. Doom, 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 doom. Doom, 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 doom. I said, is somebody going to pick this thing off or what? Nobody blocked Alex Singleton, and he bats it in the air. What are these offensive lines doing? He's double teaming the defensive tackle, the nose guard, and nobody picks up a free hitter. What are you guys doing? These two offensive lines were clueless tonight. These offenses were anemic. Somebody had to make a mistake, and it had to be the Denver Broncos. So on the previous punt in overtime, the first punt that they received, they only had 10 guys on the field. Okay. And on the second punt that they received, the guy gets blocked into his own return man. And at some point, it's tough. Ball's in the air. You're a return man. You're looking at the football. You're not looking at the traffic surrounding you. What always boggles the mind with these gunners or these blockers on the outside, what always boggles the mind is they have no idea where the football is. They never take a gander. Let me just take a quick peek, see where the ball is. They never hear people yelling, Peter, 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 which is the universal call for get away, scatter, get away from the football. It's short. It's going to bounce. Don't be that guy. They never hear anything. They're just so locked in on their job of blocking that guy. And he gets blocked right into the punt returner. Second of 3 primetime games this week that we saw ultimately decided by a special teams gaffe in a game that was low scoring and somebody had to win. You could argue neither team deserved or nor wanted to, but somebody had to. And they didn't have to. It could have been a tie. But the football gods would have it that someone was going to win this game. Happened on Thursday night with the Bears and Commanders. A muffed punt in that game ultimately led to the game-winning score. A muffed punt tonight leads to the exact same thing in overtime. Wow. On one hand, you feel bad for the Denver Broncos defense. I don't feel bad for their head coach. I don't feel bad for the offense. I don't feel bad for Russell Wilson. I don't feel bad for anybody else other than the defense. Because at a bare minimum, they've played well enough to be 5-1. And when you look at their schedule, it hasn't been a tough schedule to start the season. They played the likes of Indy and Houston and Seattle. Like, they should be 4-2 at worst. And 5-1 more likely than that. When you give up 17 points or less, and it's usually the less for this Broncos defense. It was 16 tonight to the Chargers. It was 9 to the Colts. It was 9 to the Texans. It was 17 to the Seahawks. Like I said, the only outlier game was against the Raiders, where they gave up 32 points or something like that. Shit, it was an outlier game for their offense. They scored 32 points in that. 23 points in that game. Shit, that's like 100 for them. 23? Are you kidding me? That's like 3 whole touchdowns for the Denver Broncos. What? Didn't even know you could go that high. So, feel bad for the Broncos defense. But I don't feel bad for anybody else on that football team. I'm always somewhat surprised, and I don't know why, when it comes to the Chargers, because I just expect so much from them, whether it was back in the day with Phillip Rivers or it's now present day with Justin Herbert. I always expect more of the Chargers, and I always get less. I feel like pay less. Doesn't it feel good to pay less? No, it actually doesn't when it comes to the Chargers. It doesn't feel good to get less. I always look at their football team, I look at their roster, and I see so much more, but I always feel like I'm coming away with less. They've got to play better, do the Chargers. My hope is that help is on the way in the form of Keenan Allen, but you can't convince me that one guy makes that much of a difference, because if he does, you're in trouble. One guy can't make this much of a difference on offense. And I've been singing this song with the Chargers for a very long time. They did all of this work to the defense. And I get it. Your head coach is a defensive-minded guy, and he was looking to get all the pieces that he needed. And you just looked at Justin Herbert and you said, hey, this guy's a stud. He's one of those quarterbacks that if you just give him some stuff, he'll turn these dudes into stars. You already got 2 guys that you trust. We'll just keep funneling in other dudes, and he'll take those other guys and he'll make them household names. That's the kind of talent that Justin Herbert has. And so they figured, we're good. We drafted the Palmer kid a couple of years ago. We're fine. And go add in a guy that played special teams for Washington, but also caught the football, and DeAndre Carter. We're fine at receiver. No, you're not. Because every year the same shit happens with Keenan Allen. Every year. There was a stretch there, maybe a 3-year stretch or so, where he was healthy. And you didn't have these issues. But before that 3-year stretch and after that 3-year stretch, It's been the same shit. He's going to get hurt. He's becoming one of these dudes where you can count on it. He's turning into another Samuel Watkins, where you just know he's going to get hurt. It's not a matter of if he's getting hurt. It's when and for how long. So if you're relying on this guy to be the catalyst, you're relying on him to be what powers this offense, you are putting your trust in a false prophet, which means you need to do more on offense to surround your quarterback, who's super talented. But we all know Mike Williams cannot separate, which is why we throw 50-50 balls up to him and he goes and gets them, because there's always somebody draped all over his ass. And so they took their best corner, who's a damn good corner, and said, bro, lock him up. Go get the Akons. Not the Raycons. We're not talking about earbuds. Go get the Akons, the locked ups. Locked up, they won't let me out. Go get the convicts. He locked his ass up. So now where's Justin Herbert supposed to go with the football? Gerald Everett? That's nice. But you don't think the Chargers, you don't think the Broncos know that he's next in line? We'll follow 30 around wherever the hell he goes. Take away 81. Who's left? How many times did he throw the football to Palmer tonight? Nobody's afraid of Palmer. He drew some pass interference penalties, and that's cool. But Damari Mathis, they never was afraid of Palmer. They're like, hey, if he wants to keep throwing it to him, we'll take it. This kid isn't going to hurt us. And he didn't. And shout out to Damari Mathis for getting picked on tonight. Cornerback, I've always said this, one of the toughest positions to come in as a young fella in this league and play, because it's usually baptism by fire. They're going to pick on you. These receivers, they see a young fella out here. They smell a youngin' a mile away. Oh, they got a young boy out here. Put him on an island. I'm about to do him. I'm about to cook his ass. And they be chopping these young boys up and putting them in the pot and cooking their ass. And so you got to have thick skin and a short memory at cornerback as a young fella, as a young boy in this league. Because these veterans, these Stephon Diggs, these Devontae Adams, they going to cook your ass. They're going to put you in the grinder. And that young fella, he had some struggles tonight. Caught a couple flags. He caught a couple of yellows tonight, man. But he never quit on himself. He never got down, and he kept playing ball. I like that young fella. I like the mental toughness that I saw tonight from him. Let's talk about Baron Browning, man, because he was the best football player on the field for the Broncos. I remember watching him on tape at Ohio State and saying, they sure do drop him into coverage a lot. I'd like to see him rush some more. There's something there. I remember saying that on the Draft Prospects 101. I remember because Washington was in the market for a linebacker that year. And we ended up with Jamin Davis. And I remember saying, this Baron Browning dude is interesting, but I don't think Ohio State used him properly. A lot of dropping in to hook zones and out into the flats, and that's cool, but I don't think they're fully taking advantage of what this dude can really do. Sort of like Rashawn Gary at Michigan. Not really sure they're utilizing him correctly. Oh, they weren't. The Denver Broncos got a steal in the third round. This dude looks like he's got the potential to be one of the preeminent pass rushers. That first step, that shit is lightning quick. I'm talking Derek Thomas. I'm talking some of the most elite, Von Miller, some of the most elite first steps I've ever seen. This dude has it, and he's timing up snaps. He's just scratching the surface. He don't even know what the hell he's doing right now. But he's flying around the football field. Give me 11 of those dudes. Give me 11 of those dudes. How about Drew Tranquil? That's a Golden Domer. I got a little something extra in my heart for him. I love to see the Golden Domers come in here and get it done. Loved him at Notre Dame. He was a leader, but more importantly, he was an athlete. We don't have many of those at Notre Dame. Not on defense, at least. He could run. He can hit. He can cover. There's a lot in that Drew Tranquil package if he could just stay healthy. That sack he had on Russell Wilson, he was shot out of a cannon, and Russ didn't even have a chance to blink. He was so damn fast. There was another play. Russ is going out to his right, and Drew is rushing initially. He backs off, and then he takes off. And before Russ could realize it, he looks up, 49 is on his ass. I thought he was phenomenal tonight. I still don't know what to make of the Chargers. I still don't know what to make of the Chargers. 6 of their points tonight came off of Bronco mistakes. One drive was essentially a pass interference drive that led to a field goal. And then the muffed punt at the end of the game led to the game-winning field goal. Still don't know what to make of the Chargers. And again, maybe Keenan Allen comes back and shit just starts to go in the right direction offensively. We'll see what this defense is without Bosa and if they can continue to hold it down until he's able to get back. But they're 4-2. For all of the shit that has went down with this team, with Herbert getting injured and their left tackle, Rashawn Slater being lost for the season, and Joey Bosa, what's new? He's always hurt too, getting injured. With all that said, you look up, and after getting devoured at home by the Jags, a lot of people left the Chargers for dead. Herbert's got busted ribs. You just got smoked at the crib by the Jaguars. Bosa's out. You lose Rashawn Slater. Yeah, you're cooked. They've won 3 in a row. And now they sit here at 4-2. That's the second team. Dallas was the other team that we kind of left for dead after an early season loss. And it was an ugly one at the crib. And then your quarterback gets banged up. At least the Chargers never lost Herbert. But he's banged up. And you're thinking to yourself, after that loss to Kansas City, a game that they probably should have won, by the way. And then you go, and Herbert's got the ribs now. And then you go and get destroyed by the Jaguars. You're thinking, they're in trouble. Herbert's hurt. They got injuries. They're free falling. You leave them for dead, and here they are, 3 wins in a row, 4-2. And I think, too, some of the schedule worked out in their favor. You get Cleveland, and you get, this Broncos team. And it's family business. So I want to make it seem like they were tossed an easy lob job here. But if I'm not mistaken, they got Houston, I think, that first game after Jacksonville. If not, they got Houston coming up. They're in a position to weather that storm, find a way to keep winning games. I think Houston's next, and then they got a bye week, if I'm not mistaken. Let's take a look and see. I think it's Houston. Bye week is Seattle. So, yeah, they got Houston after the Jaguars lost. That's what it was. That allowed them to get their shit together. I always tell you, when you're having issues, go see the doc. Doc will write you a prescription. Go see the Texans. You'll be fine. Take a Texans visit. You'll be fine. Go write you a prescription. Here's the script. Go see the Carolina Panthers. You'll be fine. They got a script after that ass whooping to go see the Texans. Got them right. 3 in a row. Seattle, very winnable football game. Then the bye week. If I were them, you got to find a way to win that game without Keenan Allen. I'm not playing him before the bye week. He could tell me, Coach, I'm 100%. Good. I want you at 110. I'll see you after the bye week. Because I don't want to do this shit with him the rest of the season. So, one more game without Keenan Allen. That's how I would handle it. And then we go from there after the bye week. He'll definitely be ready post-bye. And then you hope to see the best version of the Chargers offensive. I will say the defense is better, though. Slightly. But they've given up some points this year. They've given up some stuff. I still don't know about this run defense. You know, Nick Chubb went over 100 last week. They shut down the Broncos' rushing attack. But then again, you know, Latavius Murray had averaged like 5 yards a pop tonight. He did have that 115-yard run that probably inflated the average a bit, but still. Again, I don't know about this Chargers football team. I want to believe, but then again, I don't. And you know how I feel about their head coach. But, you know, this is my last thing I'm going to say. How about my guy D-Hop, man? Shout out to D-Hop. That's my guy, man. Justin Hopkins couldn't have happened to a nicer dude, man. Knew he was going to thank his Lord Savior, Jesus Christ, at the end of the game before he said anything. Hey, I got to give a shout out to JC for making this possible. And I'm not going to lie. I thought he was going to miss one of these joints. But I said, he's not in Washington anymore. And this is usually how it goes with these kickers, man. Whether it's Sean Sweezum or it's Graham Gano or now Dustin Hopkins, this is what we do. We get a kicker. And look, in every one of those situations, moving on from the kicker was warranted. Okay, it's not like they got rid of the kicker before he got a chance to prove himself like they did with David Akers once upon a time, who was in Washington before going on to having a ridiculously successful career with the Eagles and then the 49ers to finish up. It's not like that, where you just got rid of a guy a little bit too soon. All of those kickers had their chances, missed big kicks enough times to where you said, he's got to go. But it always happens, and it's so fitting, once they leave Washington, they hit their stride, and they figure it out. Graham Gano is one of the best kickers in football now. And just so happens he's in the division doing it with the Giants. So it's like twisting that dagger just a little bit further. But shout out to my guy D-Hop. You know I was a D-Hop supporter, man. I used to try to keep y'all at bay. Pitchforks and torches are like, y'all leave my man D-Hop alone, man. Way to gut it out, man. 4 field goals tonight. All within 40 yards, but a lot of those kicks would have been good from 45, 50, maybe even. You know, they were all top of the net, plenty of distance. He won't play next week. Hopefully, he said he heard something pop. Hopefully, it's not an even longer injury. But shout out to my guy D-Hop for getting it done tonight, man. I loved it, man. I loved every single one of those kicks, including the game winner. They lifted him up on the shoulders like it was a movie. I felt so good for him, man. So good for D-Hop. Anyway, I digress. Let's get to the comment section and see what you guys have to say. Clapping Packed Cheeks. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Clapping Packed Cheeks writes, Broncos have the best defense in NFL history. I wouldn't go that far, but he says worst offense in history too. I thought our offense was bad, but golly, let's ride. Yeah. There are a lot of teams that are like, hey, we thought our offense was bad. We got to get in line behind the Broncos. Their shit is anemic. And it's a couple of teams with just some stinky offense. The Panthers are just as bad offensively as the Denver Broncos. The biggest difference is you haven't been force-fed the Carolina Panthers 5 times in the first 6 weeks of the season. That's all. That's the only difference. Or 4 times in the first 6 weeks of the season. And guess what? I've seen commercials like 50 million times for these same stinking ass bastards who are going to be on TV again against the damn Jaguars over in London. I'm like, you got to be kidding me. Again, if I see a schedule maker, if I'm in New York and I see a schedule maker, it's on site. It's hands on site. And they're going to ask me while I'm pummeling them, why are you hitting me? Because you put the Denver Broncos on 5 times in the first 7 weeks of the season. That's why you're getting these hands. Feel bad for the Broncos defense. The Cubone. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. The Cubone writes, does Denver pull the trigger and fire Hackett after this season? I'm not one to say coaches should be fired after one season, except for Urban Meyer. But Hackett has been so terrible, I can see that happening. We've discussed this before, Q. And I think it's a real conversation that needs to be had. They've got a new ownership group that has just bought the team. They can't be impressed with what they've seen. And when you take over a team, you try to give everybody a chance. We saw the same thing with David Tepper in Carolina. He took over the team. He really didn't love Ron Rivera, but he's like, I'm going to give him a chance. I'm not just going to come in here and start changing shit. I'm going to just see what happens. And if I don't like what I see, then I'm going to start making wholesale changes, and I'm going to do the shit that I want to do. His shit clearly hasn't worked. He got rid of Ron Rivera, and he hired who? Matt Rule. Who? Matt Rule, who he already fired this season, right? 3 years into his tenure, he's already gone. So clearly David Tepper didn't know what the hell he was doing either. But that's what an owner gets a new toy. I want to be able to play with the toy, right? I want to be able to figure out what's the best for this organization. You get these new owners that come in, and they can't be pleased with what they're seeing from this team. You got this $245 million investment in Russell Wilson. You got all these talented receivers and tight ends and running backs. And you're telling me this is the best we can do on offense? This has to be your problem. The defensive coordinator's kicking ass. This guy's never been a D coordinator a day in his life, and he's got this defense humming. And you're an offensive guru, and you've worked with the likes of Aaron Rodgers, and this is the best you can do? You're the problem. You got to go. So I think that's a real conversation that has to be had. But at the end of the day, I ultimately think they may, and again, it's just how this season plays itself out. If this trend continues where they can't score and they end up being a 5 or 6 win team, he may get fired. But if they are able to turn it around and let's say they end up 8-9, but they finish up the season winners of 5 out of their final 8 games, and they end up 8-9, including a 3-game win streak to finish out the season, I think he's back next year. Maybe he's figured something out. But if it continues down the path it's going right now, he's fired. I think he's going to get fired and be a one-and-doneer for sure. But that's definitely a conversation that needs to be had. Commando Liberty, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, to lose like that, never picking Broncos again. I stopped picking them a long time ago. I mean, they've got to be playing they got to be playing Carolina. That's at this point, that's the only team I think I would pick Denver to beat is the Panthers. And even that's not a guarantee. They are horrible, man. They are terrible, are these Broncos. I can't believe you even pulled the trigger on that. Swaggy P, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Swaggy P writes, sup, Lou? Sup, Swaggy P? Says, I wonder what Commanders' record would be if Russ was the quarterback. Also, these two coaches are the worst time management coaches ever. Not a lot of good clock management nor decision making between these two coaches. But we've seen that. That's what the track record is right now for Brandon Staley in LA. And we've already seen the fantastic and fine work of one Nathaniel Hackett in Denver. So, yeah, they're not the best time management between these two dudes. And I honestly don't think Russ would. I think Russ would be playing much better in Washington, but I can't say. I don't think he's seeing the field well. I mean, there was one play they showed that I think kind of encapsulates what's going on with, him in this offense. He's got a tight end wide open on like a 3rd and 4, right over the ball. Like, bro, what are you doing? What are you looking at? Throw it to him. And he barely gets the ball off from getting sacked. And you're like, guy, the tight end's sitting right over the ball. Are you kidding me? But then you see other shots. And I think Nathaniel Hackett is suffering from some of the same shit that our offensive coordinator, Scott Turner, is suffering from. I see a 3rd and 6, and I see dudes running like 12 and 15-yard routes. And I'm like, what are you doing? You need 6 yards. Your offense is trifling. What are you doing? Get 7 yards and get a fresh set of downs so you can call 3 more plays. Why are you running 15 yards down the field? These are things that I will never understand. If you got it like that, then you can send a guy deep. But you're struggling. I mean, you epitomize struggling right now offensively. What are you doing? What are you doing? But some of these coaches, man, it's like they just got this warped sense of reality. Hey, this will be the 3rd down and long that I'll finally get something going down the field. Okay. Well, you stay there with your nonsense while your punter gets ready to come back on the field again because you decided you wanted to run these long developing routes down the field and get your quarterback damn near decapitated. Knock yourself out. All right. Joe Rockhead J, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Joe Rockhead J, thank you for being a member of the MOBB writes. The O-lines are deciding the fate of some of these offenses, and the schemes just can't consistently mask the problem enough. There's a lot of O-line injuries around the league. These two teams suffer from some of those issues, unfortunately. The Chargers left tackle that they plugged in, 6th-round pick out of Georgia, Salyer, actually hasn't been playing bad, but he's not Rashawn Slater, right? Like, they didn't draft him to be starting at left tackle for them for pretty much the entire season, which is what's going to ultimately happen if he can stay healthy. But it's not ideal, right? You're playing musical chairs. You're swapping guys in and out of the lineup. They were on their, I think we heard 4th center tonight. Corey Linsley was out. One of the centers went down, and then another guy had to come in. Then he ultimately, the center that started the game came back into the game a little bit later on. So they're dealing with some issues up front, clearly. Broncos, same deal. They were without their left tackle. I mean, it's an epidemic around the league, honestly, with a lot of these offensive lines dealing with issues. So you got to figure it out. But no excuses. There were times where Herbert and Russell Wilson had time in the pocket tonight, and they just didn't find anybody. That speaks to scheme, but it also speaks to the inability for guys to separate. Because some of it was just straight up man-to-man. Mano y mano, you beat your guy. And they just weren't beating their guys. Commando Liberty. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, Broncos offense makes us look like top 5 offense. LOL. I wouldn't go quite that far, but their offense is pretty bad. But we're not that far away with what we've done of late. I think the difference is the first 2 weeks of the season were so good offensively for us, even though we started really slow in Detroit, that those 2 games alone have outpaced the entire Denver Broncos season to this point. So that's what's keeping us afloat. That's the reason why we're not mentioned in the same breath with the Carolinas and the Houstons and the Indies and the Denvers of the teams that are struggling to score, because the first 2 weeks gave us a chance. You take those first 2 weeks away, and we're right there with the Denver Broncos. And all the other teams that are struggling to score this season, that have been anemic in the red zone, we're right there. Those first 2 weeks, 4 touchdowns in each of those first 2 games. That's what's saving us. Red Wings 01, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Red Wings 01, thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, man, we really dodged a bullet not getting Russ. I actually feel for him a little. He wasn't good, but not bad either. And man, do I miss having Carter. I really feel like Russ has been put in a tough spot because obviously this isn't what he signed up for. He's not playing good football himself. So I don't want to just put it all on Nathaniel Hackett or the offensive line woes or, receivers not separating this, that, or the third. He's not seeing the field well. He hasn't been super accurate with the football. He hasn't been very decisive. He looks like a guy that's in year 1 of a new offensive scheme, whereas he's been somewhere and he's been in a scheme and he's been comfortable and the scheme has been tailored to his strengths. He looks like a guy that is now somewhere new for the first time in 10 years, and he's struggling to adjust and go through the progressions in a timely manner. Does this sound familiar to you? Does this sound like someone else that I'm describing? And so it happens. Not everybody is able to go into an offense, pick it up like that, and be able to hit the ground running. And so I think he's struggling with this new offensive scheme and what he's being asked to do. And it's a process for him. It's a work in progress. And right now it's a lot slower than Broncos fans and people like myself who just assumed he was going to go in there and tear it up with all the talent that they have. Even Troy Aikman was like, they got talent, or maybe I'm wrong. You're not wrong. They've got talented football players. It's just that it's a disconnect, though. I think he would have been solid in Washington, but it's hard to say because a lot of the problems that they have in Denver, we're having in Washington, and he may have been impacted the same exact way. I am very fortunate. It's hindsight because all of us would have taken Russ without a blink of an eye in the offseason. So it's easy now, in hindsight, to say, oh, man, I'm glad we didn't get him. We would have taken him in a heartbeat. And, it's not the money. Everyone gets caught up on the money and hung up on the financial side of things. Like, oh, my God, he's stealing money from them. The Broncos the Seahawks stole draft picks. That's the shit that would bother me. I'm in timeout in the first and second round of each of the next 2 drafts. That's the shit that will bother me more than anything else. Is I'm being slapped on the wrist and told to go face the corner in the first round for the next couple of years behind this shit. And it's not proven it to be fruitful at all. Money comes and goes. I need my damn draft picks. DeAndre Carter, what did I tell y'all? And look, this hasn't been a major problem. I liken it to last year, the short yardage situation with the running back Peyton Barber when we moved on from him to keep Jarrett Patterson. It was an issue, but it wasn't like, oh my God, this is the reason we lost 2 games, right? It was an issue. And it could have been solved if they would have held on to Peyton Barber. And you could tell that they thought that they had an answer on the roster, and it didn't turn out the way that they thought. I said during the offseason, I asked you guys a question. I said, what will be the biggest regret of the offseason? And mine was that we didn't re-sign DeAndre Carter. And he ended up getting peanuts to go and play for the Chargers. And look, we knew what it was. It wasn't about DeAndre Carter's ability. He showed us he could play last year. He was huge for us, both in the returns game and as a receiver. It was all about, we drafted Dax Milne. We want to prove that we were right. And so we're choosing Dax Milne over DeAndre Carter. That was an ego thing. That was, hey, this is our guy. We chose him. So we're going to stick with our guy instead of going with the guy that gives you the best chance to win. because it wasn't about the money. We were strapped for cash, but they had already made their mind up on DeAndre Carter before they traded for Carson Wentz. So our special teams return game has been lethargic, to say the least. It hasn't cost us anything major other than field position at times, but he hasn't fumbled or did anything crazy. Knock on a little wood there, but it's just frustrating when you know what we did have. And then from a receiving standpoint, it's a wash because we're good at receiver. I'm not even tripping there. Just from a special team standpoint, I'm not bothered by him being in Los Angeles with the Chargers. We're not missing him all that much. He's playing well over there. I wish him nothing but the best, but he would definitely have given our special teams a shot in the arm. You know, Red Wing 01, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, did you see Steven Sims on the kick return this week? I miss seeing him do that in 2019 before Ron and his infinite wisdom moved him to just punts. The reason that they did that was because he was supposed to be, remember, people, and again, it's so easy to forget this. A lot of people have like this revisionist history where they kind of, selective memory, so to speak, where they forget certain aspects of scenarios and situations. When Ron got here in 2020, the wide receiver cupboard was completely bare outside of 17. Okay. We were hyping up, if you recall, and I was guilty of this, even though I wasn't 100% confident, but I was hyping up Steven Sims Jr. and I was like, maybe because of what we saw at the end of 2019, maybe he could be, I said, this guy is a 3. You can see it through and through. He's a number 3 wide receiver, but if we can get him to somehow produce like a number 2, it'll give us a fighting chance. It'll give us a fighting chance. That's the kind of pressure we were putting on Steven Sims Jr. that first year of Ron Rivera in 2020. Steven Sims had some great returns. I remember one against Detroit in particular in 2019. He was dynamic, but we needed him at receiver. So you couldn't put him on kickoffs because you don't want a guy running back a 37-yard kickoff and now you need him in the huddle on the first snap. And you don't want to alter your play calling because now Steven Sims needs to catch his breath. So you need to send him off, onto the sideline, and now you're altering your play call because this guy's not ready to take an offensive snap. So you take him off of kickoffs, you leave him on punts because the likelihood is you're either not going to return the punt, and if you do, it's not going to be for very long, right? And you want him back there because you trust him back there because kickoffs are different. Anybody can field a kickoff. There's no one breathing down your neck as you're catching the football. Anybody can catch a kickoff. Now, you got to be a special, and I've said this so many times, you've got to be wired differently and a special individual to go back there and field punts. Because if it's one wrong move, one poor decision, and you can get your block knocked off. You decide to be He-Man. Oh, I got space. And a guy that's running at you 21 miles an hour gets a free shot at you. Could be the end of your night. Lights out, baby. So they kept him on punts. And that was a disaster. So again, we could have revisionist history. We could have selective memory. But they did it for a reason because we were relying on him in 2020 to be a receiver. And he wasn't very good at it. And he got injured. And he fumbled punts. And so he shouldn't still be in Washington. Same thing can be said for Dustin Hopkins and just about anybody else that you can think of that's no longer in Washington, that's playing good somewhere else, is that they didn't do enough to stay in Washington, most of those guys. And again, we've heard from players that have been here. This isn't necessarily the coaching staff that bends their scheme to fit the strengths of their players, specifically on the offensive side of the football. So they're not tailoring what they do to the talent that they have. You could probably say that for Jack Del Rio as well. Good for him in Pittsburgh. John Perez, my guy. JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy JP writes, get the effing Broncos off the primetime already. Well, they got one more. I don't know when it is because they were a five-timer. They were a five-star team this year. So I don't know when that fifth game is, but they've got one more primetimer. I'm hoping it's further enough back on the schedule to where they can get flexed out of there. And I know the networks are hoping that that's the case as well. But all we can do is hope. But hey, we got to take some more of these bastards. You're allowed to miss the London game. That's 9 o'clock in the morning. You could just say, hey, I'm gonna sleep through that. I'll see you at 1 for the Washington game, and not even bother getting out of your bed for that Jaguars Broncos game. I'm gonna get up because I'm obligated. But you don't have to. So don't. John Livingston, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, JL Smooth, writes, what up, Lou? Not going to praise Hackett, but man, Wilson just doesn't look the same. I was worried about them with Sutton and Judy, but he looks washed. I've been fighting the washed term because it's out there and people are using it quite a bit. And if the shoe fits, wear it. I'm not going to use it myself, but if you want to use it, knock yourself out. He has done nothing to deter that narrative. He does not look right. He does not look, but I've told you what I think it is. He looks unsure. He looks like a guy that's in a brand new offense with new weapons, and he doesn't quite know exactly where to go. Like, I see him staring down that first read quite a bit and not coming off of it fast enough. And then by the time he's trying to get to his next reads, it's too late. You don't have enough time. This offensive line isn't good enough for him to be staring at that first read for 3.5 seconds and then trying to come off. He's got to get off of that. If it's not there immediately, and he's locking on to Courtland Sutton. That's the one guy that you can tell he trusts. He's locking on to him for that. That's what he did last, Thursday against the Colts. He locked on to him. And then by the time he came off of him, it was too late. Should have come off of him immediately. He was being blanketed by Stephon Gilmore. He should have come off of him immediately, and he would have ran right into his progression, would have taken him right into a wide open KJ Hamler for the touchdown. But he's locking on to dudes, and he's not coming off fast enough. He looks unsure of where to go with the football after that initial read isn't open. And so he looks like a shell of himself right now. It was funny. In these games, boy, these announcers have been ruthless with these teams that aren't scoring points. I mean, Al Michaels and Kirk Herbstreit were letting us have it, and the Bears have it on Thursday night. And, they were ornery because they had just witnessed that Bears or Broncos Colts game the week before. So they was like, look, man, we sick of this shit. So we caught the brunt of that, right? Like, look, y'all better score some damn points tonight. Somebody score a damn touchdown. We sick of this shit. But Aikman was like, they had 11 days to prepare. Guess that wasn't enough. I said, well, damn. I don't know what else to say, man. He doesn't look good. I thought, and remember, before the season started, I predicted that the Broncos would go to the Super Bowl. Why? Because I said, sticking with the track record of what's going on with the teams that have won the last 2 Super Bowls in Brady and then Stafford, teams that are ready to go. They've got everything that they need. All the weapons you need are included in the package. Normally you get a brand new toy and it says, hey, batteries not included, assembly necessary. This was batteries included, assembly not necessary. Okay. Everything was already put together. You just needed to get Russell Wilson and you were ready to go. You just needed a quarterback to make this thing go. But we didn't take into consideration that they were changing coaches. We didn't take into consideration that this was going to be a different offense for Russell Wilson. We didn't take into consideration that this offensive line, which hasn't been great, was going to continue to struggle and then have some injuries. We didn't take all this stuff into consideration. We just looked at Wilson. We looked at Sutton. We looked at Judy. We looked at Hamler. We looked at Albert O. We looked at all the tight ends. We looked at Javonte Williams. We looked at Melvin Gordon III. And we just said, they got a shit ton of weapons. And with Russ pulling the strings, they're dangerous. We didn't take into consideration that this shit takes time. And the guy, pulling the strings, the head coach, not necessarily the sharpest tool. Or that might not be fair. Maybe not equipped for this job. Maybe he's in over his head. It's just a thought. Maybe he's in over his head. Not everyone is made to be a head coach. We've discussed this already. Some guys are better left as positional coaches and coordinators. And that's okay. That's okay. Edward Washington, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, had Bills Chiefs this week and they gave us this tonight. Well, this is the thing. CBS is like, yo, we got to protect 3 or 4 of these a season. We can't let you have all the good ones. So you can't take Bills Chiefs from us. We got to get our ratings boost too. We got to have our 2 or 3 games that have a chance to break, the record for most viewers watching a game in the 425 window. We got to have our games. Fox is doing the same thing. Fox is going to protect a couple of games where you go, man, that's a good ass game. That should be on prime time. And Fox is like, hey, don't touch that shit. That's ours. That's our game. When we got Packers and Bucks early in the season, we didn't know both of those teams were going to struggle this year and not be the same. When we saw that on the schedule early in the season, Fox is like, hey, don't touch that shit. That's ours. You can't have that on Sunday night. You can't have that on Monday night. That's ours. CBS is saying the same thing about Bills Chiefs. That's our game. Go find something else to put on Monday night or Sunday night. K80 Tick, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, someone tell Russ he has number 14 on his team. Someone tell Russ that number 14 isn't the only guy he has on his team. Now, tonight, he didn't throw him the football. And I said that it was Milk Carton Mike tonight because of one Patrick Surtain II. Maybe it was Milk Carton. It was Cortland Sutton was missing in action tonight. We can call him Countless Sutton because you couldn't count on him tonight. Maybe that's because they put J.C. Jackson on him. I don't know. I mean, Russ had a tough time getting into anybody. I think I heard Aikman say no receiver had more than 3 catches in this game. Only one way to find out. Let's check and see. Yeah, Jerry Jeudy had 3 catches for 54 yards. That was the most of anyone. Cortland Sutton only had 3 targets in the game, 2 catches, 14 yards. So you probably got to chalk that up, some of that, to the coverage that was on. They know he wants to go to Cortland Sutton. I just told you, that's his favorite target. That's the guy he's targeted the most times this season. So that's not a secret. Koopy 1000. Stand up. You're officially the newest member of the MOBB. Mob, you know what to do. Show Koopy 1000 some love. Look forward to chopping it up with you. Hope to hear from you soon. But in the meantime, welcome to the squad. Glad to have you. Vincent Cole, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, No more Bronco prime time for a while. Celebrate! You're damn right. Everyone should be excited, elated, running in the streets, jumping for joy. We got rid of these dirty bastards. Now, again, if you're a football junkie like myself, I can't celebrate. These bastards are coming to town again in a week or so against the Jacksonville Jaguars over in London. I can't hide, man. I can't run. I can't hide. I want my Denver Broncos in a 42-minute, in a 37-minute condensed form on a Tuesday morning, mid-afternoon, while I'm eating a bowl of cereal. I want to consume their game in 36 minutes. I don't want to sit there for 3 hours and watch them punt the football 7 times. John Perez, my guy, JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy, JP writes, this game was mind-boggling to say the least. Who is leading for offensive rookie of the year? Sad if we can't get Dotson. It's sad if we can get Dotson back in the next week, he will win it for sure. Right now, I think that the leader in the clubhouse is Saints wide receiver Chris Olave. He won offensive rookie of the month in September. And I think he leads all rookie receivers in yards and catches. I don't think he leads them in touchdowns, but I think he's very close because Jahan Dotson leads all rookies in touchdowns with 4. But I think he was closing in, and then he got a concussion, did Chris Olave, so he did not play against the Saints, against the Bengals this weekend, but he may be back this week. Another guy to keep your eye on now that the Jets are starting to surge is their rookie running back, Breece Hall. He's starting to turn the shit up for the Jets. So there's going to be some competition, being that there's no quarterback this year that you have to worry about. It's going to be all receivers and running backs more likely than not. And Kenneth Walker is starting to rev it up in Seattle. And so shit's getting interesting, you know. Guys, it's really going to be a war of attrition. Who can stay healthy and continue to produce and be consistent, I think is what is ultimately going to get the job done. All right. John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, JP. You should know who it is then. He says, ignore that last super. Someone may have hacked me. No, you haven't been hacked. It's just luck trying to get me. And he didn't ask the right question. He asked a question that I can answer. You have to say something. He's getting desperate. Okay. You have to say something, Luck, that's going to make me say, what? And not have an answer. Like, you can't ask me a question that I can answer because you can't get me like that. You ask me, who do I think the offensive rookie of the year is going to be? I can answer that. So that's not a D's nuts eligible question, right? It's got to be something like, hey, did you hear what Ron said? Of course I'm going to be like, no, what did Ron say? Then you can say D's nuts, okay? He's getting desperate. Good try, but you couldn't get me. John Perez, thank you for the super chat. The jig's up. Look, it's up. And normally you're smart enough to use someone that's not here. Like, JP's not going to allow you to try to get me as he's super chatting. You can't. You see how that works? Signals get crossed. All right. Anyway, my guy JP says, never mind. Don't ignore it. It's just me. I'm confused. Look, what are you talking about? You guys are hilarious. Oh, man. That is hilarious. Hilarious. Edward Washington, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Edward Washington. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Right. How do you feel about the Legend of Heineke Part 2? Does he keep Wentz off the field so we can keep our second round pick? I've already talked about this on CNN. Earlier in the evening, I said this is going to be very interesting. You saw, and I gave you an example of what happened in New Orleans and how Andy Dalton may be able to keep Jameis Winston at bay. You're seeing a little bit of this in New England, even though the Patriots spent a first-round pick on Mac Jones, and Mac hasn't done anything to warrant not getting his job back. Bailey Zappe's playing really well. I don't think it's a conversation right now, but if Mac Jones comes back and struggles, then there's a conversation to be had. So it could get really interesting, right? If this team starts playing well, the offense picks it up, they start scoring points, they start being more efficient, I don't know how you go back to Wentz, especially if you're winning football games doing it. Because it's not like Wentz left this offense in a great spot. He left this offense in a terrible position in terms of production, third down conversions, scoring points. So if Heineke comes in and the third down conversion rate skyrockets, we start converting in the red zone, we start scoring points, the defense isn't on the field as much, how do you go back to him if we go 3-1 over this 4-week stretch that they're talking about? And it may be longer, but let's just say it's 4 weeks and we go 3-1 in that stretch. And you look up and we're back to 500 at 5-5. How do you go back to Wentz at that point? That doesn't even make any sense. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. How do I feel about the Legend of Heineke Part 2? I've already said that I know he's going to run the offense more efficiently. I know he's going to come in and take command of the offense because he knows this offense. He can go through his progressions quicker. What I'm not excited about is the lack of big plays. Everything's going to revert back to where we were last season, which is 15 plays. 82 yards, 6 minutes of the clock. Anything goes wrong on the drive, it's over. The ability for, with Wentz, when Wentz hauls back and chucks it, and you can't see the other end of the screen, but you see him loading up and he lets that shit go. On the other side, I'm thinking, hey, there could be an open receiver and Wentz is going to hit his ass in stride and this could be a touchdown. When Heineke does that shit, I'm like, all right, is it double coverage? Or is he going to underthrow this bitch and is somebody going to be able to draw pass interference or is it going to get picked off? So I'm reverting back to that now. Like there's nothing good on the other end of the screen when Heineke loads up and chucks it deep. He's usually throwing it to a guy that's covered. He's not dropping it in the bucket. Either he's overthrowing him by 5 yards or he's underthrowing him by 5 yards. So I'm excited to see if he can get this offense jump started and get us to score more points. But the lack of the big play is back in full effect, and that sucks. John Perez. See, I told you what you were going to try to do. You can't ask a question like that and expect to get me, okay? Offensive Rookie of the Year is something I can answer. You got to ask me something that I don't have the answer to. And I'm like curious, like what is it, JP? You can't ask me something and then be like, no, nigga, it's not that, it's these nuts. Incorrect, Lou. The leader is these walnuts. I can't. JM1231. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, what's up, Louie? What's up, Jay? As a Hawks fan, I'm loving watching this Broncos pick get higher and higher. Woolen for Defensive Rookie of the Year. Hope all is well with you. it is amazing how this is shaping up for some of these teams that have made these trades. Like the Rams, for instance, right? They get Matthew Stafford. And they'll whatever happens, they won a Super Bowl. So it is what it is. But think about how, like, the Lions never envisioned that pick. And I still don't think that pick's going to end up being a top 10 pick. But with the way the Rams are playing, who knows what's going to happen? They never envisioned that pick being any good. You know what I'm saying? The Browns. I think the Texans felt like that first year, maybe that pick could be a top 10 pick, because without Deshaun Watson playing, they could suck. But they had a chance. The Browns had a chance to be 4-2 right now. And instead, they're 2-4. So when you see how some of these teams are playing and the players that they've given up and how these picks are falling to them, think about this, the Eagles. When they traded with the Saints last year, they said, you know what? Saints are probably going to be decent. No Sean Payton, there's a chance, but they'll probably be decent. And they may still be decent. But they're looking up, and the Saints are 2-4 right now, and they're struggling. And they're thinking, we might have another top 10 pick. Yeah. So the Seahawks are saying the same thing. Like, the assumption was, okay, we're trading them Russell Wilson. They're going to be nice. They're going to be nice. And now you look up, and these boys are 2-4, and they're struggling. And there's no light at the end of the tunnel with the Broncos. No light at the end of the tunnel right now. It's as dark, dim, and bleak as it gets. And you're thinking to yourself, if you're a Seahawks fan, their pick might be better than our pick. You're 3-3 right now. You're tied for first place in your division. Strange how I told you this NFL season is drunk. It's a lot of football left to be played, though. And Woolen is playing well. That is for sure. Carter S. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Hey, Lou, did you hear what Ron said? Now, you can't just go and repeat what I just said. Come on, Luck. Come on. You can't just repeat what I told you to ask me to see if you can get me. Come on, guy. Miss Perry, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Miss Perry writes, subscribe and turn on your notification bell. You guys heard her loud and clear. I will take this opportunity to go ahead and implore you guys to subscribe to Louie T Network for more great content if you haven't already done so. Like the video. It helps this channel grow exponentially. And hit that notification bell so you don't miss any content. Never know when I'm going to go live. Never know when one of these things is going to pop off. Obviously, there's a set schedule right now because of, primetime football. But you never know. You never know. So just turn on that notification bell. Take command for life. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Take command for life writes, Luck is a slippery guy. You know who he reminds me of? Come on now. Guys. Come on, guys. Come on. That's too easy. That's a layup. Come on, guys. You got to be better than that. Let's see. All right. We've hit our limit. No more supers. I can tell you this much. I said this when Washington won. I see my guy in here. My guy Craig says Best part about that shit is that it's over. I could go in, but I won't tonight. Oh, well, a dub is a dub, but also, yuck, bolt up. And that's at the end of the day, that's what I always have to remind people of. As ugly as this was, could have been worse. It could have been ugly and a loss, or ugly and a tie, which is where it was heading if Denver doesn't muff this punt. This is 16-16. This had a tie written all over it, which is why the NFL needs to change it back to 15 minutes. This had tie written all over it. But guess what? We can sit here, and I've already done this, and we can pick apart this game, and we can talk about how ugly it was, and oh my God, what is going on? Somebody won this game, and that somebody is the now 4-2 Chargers. Don't look now, but they're tied for first place. It wasn't pretty, but it was gritty, and most importantly, it was a dub. Okay? It was gritty, and it was a dub. And at the end of the day, as I tell you all the time, when we look up and the Chargers are 11-6 or 10-7, and more likely than not, they're going to be 9-8 or 10-7. And when we look up at the end of the season, if that's good enough to make it to the postseason, and we start turning over those bricks in the left-hand column, and we see what it says, it's just going to say dub, week 6, dub over Broncos. We're not going to remember, oh man, that was a slop fest. It was a terrible game. They won by a field goal. Justin Hopkins had 4 field goals. He could barely stand up, and kick the ball. We're not going to remember any of that. We're just going to remember that they beat the Broncos in week 6. That's all we're going to care about. We're not going to care about the particulars. Just get the win, man. Doesn't have to be pretty. All right? This is not college football. I can't stress this enough. It's not college football. You don't move up and down the rankings by how impressive you look. Just win the ball game. That's what the Chargers did tonight. Take command for life. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Take command for life. Double up. Thank you for doubling up with rights. Actually, wasn't me. Was luck that time. It doesn't matter who it is. I don't even try to figure it out anymore. Whether it's actually you or it's luck, I don't even try to figure it out anymore. At the end of the day, I'm not going to fall for the banana in the tailpipe. That's all that matters. Okay. And I know you tried to jump in on it last week, but it doesn't matter. If I see it, I'm Dikembe Mutombo in it. And shout out to Dikembe Mutombo. I hope all is going well. Reportedly has a brain tumor. Let's hope that it's not a tumor that causes him long-term issues. Hopefully they can remove it successfully and he can go back to living a normal life. Prayers go up to Dikembe Mutombo. Hopefully all goes well with that. John Livingston, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. My guy, JL Smooth, 105.3. Writes, Lou, I'm so grateful for Josh Allen. Rewatched the game and the TD to Gabe and Knox were absolute dimes. Yes, they were. Excuse me. We're used to seeing the ones to Gabe. We're used to seeing those. The one to Knox was super impressive because he's back there in the backfield orchestrating. Yeah, no, go this way. Don't go that way. And then throws a laser shot. And when you consider all of the factors, time, score, and everything that had transpired in the game, it made it that much more impressive. And I've said this before. I think I said it last night. I'm going to say it again here. It's rare that we get games that we hype up and they actually live up to the hype. It's rare in sports that we hype up an event. We do it with boxing. I'm not a UFC fan, so I'm sure that they do it with UFC as well. And a lot of times these fights, these games, they don't live up to the hype and all the fanfare. They built that game up as the sequel to the greatest playoff game ever played, which I think is a bit much. It's up there. It's in the top 3 of the best playoff games ever played. There have been some tremendous playoff games that have been played. The Ravens and the Broncos in 2012 with the crazy catch at the end of the game and to send it to overtime with Jacoby Jones, and then the crazy kick from Justin Tucker to win it in overtime. Like, there have been some, and that's an overtime game that went to double overtime. Like, there have been some tremendous playoff games. It's easy to do the, prisoner of the moment thing, but they hype that game up and they build it as the sequel, the rematch. And it was just as sweet. I want to see it again. And I think we will. Luck, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, good morning, guys. What did I miss? You're hilarious. Abel Ambrosio, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Double A, writes, every stream, get your popcorn ready. Luck versus Lou. It's always Luck coming after the kid, man. But I'm prepared. I'm strapped. I'm strapped now. Okay. Abel Ambrosio, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Good try. Whether it's you or it's not, again, it's not going down, guys. All right. It's not going down. Take command for life. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, who writes, did you see Will Jack's new tweet? Again, come on now. Stop your foolishness. Okay? Stop your foolishness. All right. Commando Liberty, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, stop it. Bill's going to choke again in the playoffs. I don't know about it. I don't think that's going to happen this time. I really don't think that's going to happen this time. I really, truly don't. I think the Bills are locked in. They've taken their lumps. There's this process that you have to go through in order to seize greatness. And it's hard. Sometimes you can skip steps. It's rare. That's only reserved for the rarest of rare occasions where you're able to skip steps and you go straight to the front of the line and you get it, right? The Bills have taken their lumps. The Chiefs have been in their way each of the last two seasons. Each loss more excruciating than the last. But it's helped them build this thickness, this callus. It's built up this hardness with this roster. Their focus is so narrow. They've got one goal. It's no longer okay to win the division. They've conquered that already. They don't care about New England or Miami or the Jets. It's bigger than the AFC East. It's not about making it to the playoffs anymore. They've done that already. Been there, done that. Got rid of that drought. Already, they had the feel-good story. That's over with. It's not to win a playoff game. Did that 2 years ago. Went to the AFC Championship game, even. It ain't about that. Now it's about getting to the Super Bowl, but not just getting to the Super Bowl. I think their first goal is to get the number one seed. That's what their number one goal is because they want the playoff. And I honestly don't know if that's the best thing. Because what people forget is, yep, it's going to be stupid cold. It's going to be frigid temperatures, windy as hell, but the Bills have to play in that shit too. And it seems like when they get in those conditions, a lot of times, they suffer just as much, if not more, than the team that they're playing against. So I don't even know if them having home field advantage is the best thing in the world. Because now you're dealing with 27-mile-an-hour gusts. That shit doesn't help Buffalo. Okay? It's not like their kicker knows how to kick in those conditions any better. I remember that rainy game on a Monday night against New England. Just terrible weather. And the Patriots end up beating them. The Patriots weren't the better team. They sucked. And they showed them that they weren't the better team in the playoffs in Wild Card Weekend that year. But those conditions were perfect. You can't count on that in January, late January, early February. You can't count on the temperatures being, normal and it not being 3 inches of snow everywhere you look. And 8 inches pushed up against the back stanchion and off to the sides. But they want home field advantage. They got laser-like vision. It's different this year, I think, personally. Joe Rockhead J, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Joe Rockhead J, writes, prisoner of the moment. Aikman saying Wilson's 30-yard pass to Judy was the best throw of his career. Career, S-T-O-P, stop. So he didn't say it was the best throw of his career. He said it was the best throw. I think he was saying more like the best throw of the season. But I think he did say the word career, something to that effect. And I remember him saying that in a moment and saying, Troy, seriously, what are we doing right now? No, he didn't say it was the best. He said it had to feel like the best throw of his career. That's what he said, because of how he was struggling, right? How they were struggling so bad. And he's got this monkey, incredible monkey. Like, there was so much shit being talked about Russell Wilson and these Broncos on Friday morning after last week's game against Indianapolis, that the amount of weight on his shoulders and back, tremendous. And so Troy was essentially saying that throw had to feel like one of the best of his career. I don't think he was saying that was the best throw of his career, but it could have been misconstrued that way, because I heard something similar to what you heard, and I was saying, come on, Troy, what are you talking about, dude? But I knew what he was saying. John Livingston, my guy, JL Smooth, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, who writes, with Big Baller Bean, 17, 14, 40, we good. Go Bills. Indeed. That's the missing piece, by the way. That's the missing piece. That's why I think y'all are going to win the Super Bowl this year. Mike Stevenson II, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Mike Stevenson II writes, do I got to be a Washington fan to be a part of the mob, Big Lou? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not, man. The mob is for all. Come one, come all. Now, you might catch a little flack for being an outsider, but you're always welcome. There are non-Washington fans littered up and down the mob. You won't be the only one. There are Eagles fans that are members of the mob, so you wouldn't be the only one. The real Louie T, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Writes, if I am, then who are you? Oh my God, I cannot with y'all. Luck is he's a master of disguise, if nothing else. Anyway, that's the best thumbnail you can come up with, really, with me looking like I'm drunk. Come on. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, the real Louie T, here on Monday Night Football overtime. Chargers get the win 19-16 in overtime over the Denver Broncos. It was not pretty, as I mentioned before, but it was gritty, and most importantly, it was a dub. The Chargers are now 4-2, and the biggest takeaway, if you're a Chargers fan, is that you're tied for first place in the division. Now, you know, the Chiefs have the tiebreaker because they beat you on a Thursday night earlier in the season in week 2. However, you just want to be there. You just want to have a chance. I think you're the only hope of them not running away and hiding with this division. You've got to stay close. Clearly, the Raiders are not going to be in the mix, and the Broncos don't look like they're going to be there either. So you're the only hope that this race isn't over by week 12 or 13. So 4-2 for these Chargers. They need help on offense, just like the Broncos do. They're a little stagnant. Again, Keenan Allen may give them a shot in the arm, but he can't be the reason that this offense continues to struggle. And we've talked about the lack of run game last week. There was a reprieve from that. They were able to run it last week and have tons of success on the ground. And I don't know, maybe he was hurt this week, but I was impressed last week with the UCLA back. Where was he this week? Maybe he got injured. I think he did get injured in that Browns game last week. But I saw Sony Michel today. Didn't see any of Joshua Kelly. That's his name. I thought he was really impressive last week against Cleveland. Didn't see him at all. They've got to figure some stuff out. They got to be more consistent running the football. And they got to be able to their third down conversions were actually not too bad for most of the game. And then when they needed it in the fourth quarter into overtime, it disappeared. At one point, they were 9 of 14 on third downs were the Chargers. Then when they needed to convert third downs, they just went into a tank, essentially. So they got some things to work on, but you much rather work on those things while getting the dub. That's what they did in this game. So super chat here from Big Money Sonny. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, my guy. Big Money Sonny. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB Rights. Lou, we trash. We really going to rock out with Heineke. Not ready for Howell yet, but we really going to get bamboozled with 4 again. Joke organization. Again, we already know pretty much how this movie is going to end, you know, but all we can do is just ride the roller coaster, man. Just ride. I'm not ready for the season to be over yet. So what else am I going to do? Okay. I don't, as bad as I want a quarterback, I'm not willing to go through the aches and pains of what it takes to earn a quarterback. I want to take the cheap route and just trade whatever it takes to get that guy. The problem is the teams that are in a position to draft a quarterback, they need one too. Carolina's going to be more likely than not the number 1 overall pick. If it's not them, it's Houston. They may not be sold on Davis Mills. Can you afford to pass up on one of these quarterbacks because you have Davis Mills at quarterback? The answer is no. So if it's Houston, if it's Carolina, they're not moving out of 1 or 2. They need a quarterback too. So they're not moving out of those spots. You need it to be one of those years where somebody gets the number 2 pick and they don't need a quarterback. They got a guy already. And then you say, I'll do whatever it takes. I'll give you whatever you want. I just need to pick. Or you need to be able to scout well enough to find one of these dudes in the first round. I think there are going to be enough quarterbacks in this upcoming draft that if you're interested, you can find a guy. I really do think there's a number of guys that are going to be out if they decide to all come out, and they're going to give you a chance to find a guy. But again, are we even going to be looking? They may be thinking that Sam Howell is the answer. We'll see. Shatterproof 1. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for the super chat. Shatterproof 1. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, if Heineke doesn't do well, then Wentz is done. Then Wentz is done as well if we lose no Wentz. If Heineke comes in and struggles and we lose football games, that's an interesting dynamic because what's the point of bringing back Carson Wentz? If let's say we lose 3 out of the next 4 and we look up and we're 3-8, that's what we would be if we lose 3 out of the next 4. We'd be 3-7, excuse me. Wentz isn't digging you. Wentz wasn't playing well before he left. He's not digging you out of a 3-7 hole. What's the purpose of playing him? At that point, I think you might have a decision on your hands. But again, this NFC is so ridiculous that who knows, 3-7, you might still be right in the thick of things for a wild card. I explained that on the CNN earlier today. So who knows? Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Braves trash, but we about to join you, Lou. It'd be nice because I can't stand the Yankees. I was rooting like hell for the Fathers to win. They took out the Padres, so that was the Dodgers, so that was great. And I'm rooting for the Astros to win the whole thing. You know, if it's not them, then the Fathers. I don't have a problem with them winning it, but I'm rooting for Dusty, man. Dusty's got to get one. If it ain't us, I wanted it to be Dusty. So rooting for Dusty. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Big Money Sonny, writes, can't believe I'm already talking. He said, can't believe I'm talking basketball already. And I hope you're not a Knicks fan because you won't be talking basketball for very long if you're a Knicks fan. sucks if you're a Knicks fan. You know, maybe you're a Wizards fan. I don't know. That's not that much better. So, yeah. Anyway, I can't. Dario Armstrong II. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Dario writes, Lou, I really like Jaren Hall, and nobody is talking about the kid. I've said it a million times. I want the kid from BYU. And I'm trying to keep it as quiet as possible. But it doesn't matter, because what's going to ultimately happen is when we get to the end of the season, we get to the draft portion of this process, the spotlight's going to be shined on Jaren Hall, and everyone's going to fall in love with him. And just like Zach Wilson, he's going to shoot up the draft board, and he's going to end up being a top 10 pick. And we're not going to be able to get our hands on him. But that's the guy that I've been swearing by. And I said, this is the guy that I want. He's got everything I'm looking for. He's got accuracy. He's got arm talent. He's got mobility. He fits today's NFL. I want him. I want him. I want him. I want him. But again, someone else is going to see this kid. He's going to work out for them at the combine, or he's going to work out in the pro day. They're going to fall in love with this kid, and he's going to be gone. Big Money Sonny, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Big Money Sonny writes, nah, diehard Sixers fan from the Dr. J days. FYI, Maxey is balling. Let's effing go. Again, sad to be talking about basketball. Okay, well, at least you have a basketball season. At least you have a basketball season. I don't know if you've done enough to improve the team, but I gave you a gift. Hopefully you're taking advantage of that gift and cherish it by allowing you to offload Danny Green. And I actually gave you a player that you can use that's going to help your basketball team immensely. Good luck with that. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. You guys enjoy the rest of your evening. We will be live with the film tomorrow for all you gold members of the mob and Patreon supporters. Not too far thereafter, you will get a episode of Studs and Duds. And then we'll start to turn our attention to the Green Bay Packers. For those of you who are not Washington fans, I'll see you on Wednesday. We'll break down the entire landscape of the NFL, go through the entire slate of games from week 6, start turning our attention to week 7. A lot has transpired. Robbie Anderson's situation. All right. A lot of injuries. DeAndre Hopkins is coming back. There's a lot to discuss, so we will definitely jump into all of that. Joe Rockhead J, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Seriously, Lou, who are the 10 teams worse than us? That could have easily been a D's nuts, but again, I know you're serious here, and it's a question I can answer. So I don't feel like that's a D's nuts type of response. Who are the 10 teams? I'm telling you, we're gonna end up winning 8 games this season, 8 or 9 games. Watch what I tell you. You think the league is trash. We're trash, but the league is trash. The NFC is trash. Our schedule is trash. We're going to win games. Watch. You'll see. We'll end up with the 13th pick, 12th or 13th pick when it's all said and done. Right outside the top 10. You ask me who are the 10 teams? The Texans, the Panthers, the Broncos, that's 3 right there. The Cardinals suck right now. We'll see what happens with them. The Browns are going to suck this year. Okay. Who knows? Detroit is terrible right now. Jacksonville is reverting back to their old ways. I mean, that's 7. That's 6 right there. All right. And we can keep going and going because There are some teams right now like the Raiders. Who knows what their season is going to turn into? I'd like to think that they're going to snap out of it and start winning some football games, but we don't know. They could really stink. You see what happened with Devontae Adams? That shit could unravel just like that. Who knows? Chicago stinks. We've already beaten them, right? They suck. So that's 8 right there. And I can keep going, and there are other teams that are right there at 2-4. There are some teams that are 3-3. The Steelers suck. You think they're going to win a whole bunch of games this season? Don't fool yourself. Yep, they beat Tampa Bay. They're going to lose a lot of games on the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. Okay. All right. You'd be a damn fool to think that they're going to. Mike Tomlin will not have the distinction of never having a losing season as a head coach after this season. They're going to have a losing season in Pittsburgh this year. He's going to coach his ass off, and he's going to give him the best chance he can, but they are not winning any more than 6 or 7 games max are the Steelers. That's 9 teams right there. And if I keep thinking, I still think the Colts are going to stink. They got a big win on Sunday, but it was against Jacksonville, another team that I already said stinks. So we'll see what happens with the Colts. I still think they're going to ultimately be trash this year. And I didn't even add them in. I didn't add the Colts because they're 3-2-1. They're over 500, so I'm not going to do that to them. The Saints are 2-4. They look like they're heading in the wrong direction. They look like they could stink this year. That's 10 right there. But again, we can keep going because there are other teams that are sitting right there at 2-4 with us that are rating that mix. And again, not everybody's playing the same schedule that we're playing. Not everybody gets to play the Texans. You know, not everybody is getting to play. And I used to mention Atlanta like they were. The Falcons are playing good ball. Can't even say the Falcons with a straight face because they're better than us. So anyway, we'll see. But I just gave you 10. And I'm pretty sure there are more teams that are 2-4 right now. The Jets are playing really well. Who's to say that they don't fall off of the damn cliff? Like this, like we already seen a couple of mirages this year with the Jags and the Lions. We've seen some mirages already this season. Teams that we thought, maybe they turn in the corner. Nope, that was a mirage. Who's to say that this Jets one isn't a mirage too? We'll see. The real Louis T. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Who writes? I digress. Scott Turner. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB who writes, I'm calling nothing but 9 routes for Taylor. That's some ass clownery right there at its best. Joe Rockhead J, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, as long as it's me, I vow to never D's nuts you. Well, I'm glad to hear that. But it won't be you. It'll be Luck posing as you. So that it's never the person that Luck's imitating that does it. It's always Luck, you know, turning into a chameleon and morphing into them. The real Louis T, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Writes, you never know when you will be you. That is precisely my point. You never know when you'll get got. And now Luck is even getting as nasty as to do it while the person is sitting in the chat. Luck is imitating that person. So, yeah, it's getting real in the field. Anyway, that's going to do it for me, your man Louis T. You guys, take care. Enjoy the rest of your evening. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Adios. Mañana. The real Louis T writes, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Sometimes I get myself, Lou. Tomorrow's. Yeah, tomorrow's with an S. I was watching the kid. It's a classic video. And I know a lot of you have seen it. If you haven't, please treat yourself. But it's the little kid, and his mom is shopping in the store. And she's buying, and he picks up some pads. And he's like, do you need some of these? And she's like, no. He's like, are you sure you need some of these? You used to wear these at the old house. Long time ago. She's like, what are you talking about? You remember? You used to use these for your butt. And she's like, no, go put it back. He's like, you used to. you did used to use them. It's the funniest thing ever. And I was watching that, and so he got me over here talking about tomorrows and long time ago's. And so yeah, it's all good. Anyway, I digress. Take command for life. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, I'm last. Here we go. Here y'all go again. Big Money Sonny. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Big Money Sonny writes, you know, he got street scores, Rico, like 5 times in a row. It was ridiculous, and he was super creative. Watch your back. Oh, I'm always watching my back, my front, my sides, everything. Now, how you can got 5 times in a row is beyond me. I mean, it's once or twice. Okay, I get it, you know. But 5 times, that's a little excessive. So I need some of these content creators to be a little bit smarter after you got once or twice. All right. The real Louie T, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, if you're not first, you're last at take command for life. Take command for life shoots back with another super. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Joshua Drake, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you, Joshua, who writes, Lou, appreciate the streams. Appreciate you for chopping it up with the kid, man, for devoting your time and your energy. Couldn't do this without y'all, man. So I really, truly do appreciate people just like you, Joshua Drake. Take command for life. Thank you again for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you as well. So anyway, that's going to do it for me. Once again, your man Louie T. Until next time, you guys get out of here. God bless and good night.
LouieTeeNetwork.
I'm back. Y'all still super chatting. Take command for life. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. The real Louie T. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Take command for life. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. All right. Now we can go.
LouieTeeNetwork.